I didn't want to do one of these videos so soon after I did one for On Guard and Juzen, but I've had these two games on my radar forever, so I had to jump at the first chance at playing them. Eternights is an upcoming action game by Studio Sai. You play as a young Korean dude, ready to dive into the world of online dating. Your buddy Chani will be your Sherpa and guide you through these tumultuous waters to land the choicest fish in the sea. That's a metaphor for women. Chani turns you onto a new dating app, and after filling out its quiz, you match with a woman who's more than ready to jump your bones. She sets up a yacht date with you, and you turn in for the night. Right from the start, it's pretty obvious that the modern Persona games had a major influence on Eternights. The Persona games take place during an entire school year, and your time spent in those games is reflected by the calendar cycling through day-night cycles. I think Eternights needs some work on that signposting, because the calendar day kept flashing during my time with the demo. Anyways, going to bed leads into the game's tutorial. You dream about losing your arm and getting a new one made out of light. Something's wrong with the people around you, and you have to fight them to survive the night. Despite drawing from the Persona series for its influences, Eternights doesn't play like a turn-based RPG. Instead, you attack enemies with the X button and dodge incoming attacks with the A button. Chain enough attacks together and you can end with a flourish by pressing right bumper. If an enemy flashes red, they'll attack. Dodge at the right time to trigger a perfect dodge. You'll go into witch time and can chain your attacks without the risk of another enemy attacking you. Stronger enemies have a shield that you have to break in order to deal damage. You build up meter by attacking and triggering perfect dodges. Once the meter is full, you can activate your elemental fist by pressing left trigger. After breaking the enemy's shield, you can deal direct damage to their health with your attacks. The next day, you go out to meet your date. However, something's causing people to turn into monsters and form a wall around the city. You end up at the disaster bunker with your friend and wait for things to calm down. Eventually, you meet the local pop star who's on posters everywhere, and your buddy happens to be one of her biggest fans. You join her and her friend, who's not taking the current situation very well. This part of the demo teaches you to avoid the monsters via stealth or by running away. Unfortunately, the panicky girl learns the hard way that police will never help you and you should only trust your fists.
No! Officer, please help!
Damn! He ain't gonna be in Rush Hour 3.
After escaping the cop by hiding in the locker with one of your buddies, you run into a drone that's looking for survivors to escort to the next shelter. Once you reach a subway, your group gets surrounded by monsters, but the real threat is a Sans Undertale Gajinka that's appeared with a Klingon weapon. She immobilizes your crew, identifies you as her target, and lops off your right arm.
I'm sorry. I told you yachts were super romantic.
Not surprisingly, you pass out from shock and wake up to meet your yacht date. She promises to give you her power to help fight the monsters, so long as you're willing to get your hands dirty. You wake up and gain the same hand you dreamt about and use it to fight off the monsters. That's when you meet a higher class enemy and the game teaches you about breaking shields. After this fight, the demo ends. One of the things that the trailers didn't really highlight for me was that this game feels like an indie project. Something about how basic the menu UI is tipped me off to that. It's also in how the character portraits animate. It looks like they took the head-on angles of the in-game models and superimposed them onto dialogue boxes. There's nothing wrong with any of this. I just have to factor it in when considering the rough parts of the game. A smaller studio won't be able to perfectly capture the slick UI transitions that the Persona games are known for. But what's here is still pretty good. The game makes great use of lighting and colors to evoke the right atmosphere. Considering the title, the main color motif of the game will hover around dark blue and indigo, but good use of contrasting light sources makes the dark subway tunnels pop and naturally leads you towards the intended path. This is up there with the Dawn when it comes to taking simple environments and adding the right use of colors where it matters. It makes what would be drab locales more vibrant. The writing's kinda goofy, like it takes its premise semi-seriously, but I like it here. Even when we're facing with an end-of-the-world crisis, I totally believe we'd be shitposting all the way down. Combat's pretty simple for now, but I assume we'll get more elemental attacks to fill up our wheel, and we still don't know what our buddies can do in a fight. I kinda hope Chani stays useless for the entire game, and is only there to quip at things. That would be a really funny dig at the Junpei, Yosuke, Ryuji type of buddy these games always have. This game is supposed to have dating sim elements, but we've only met with one of the waifus, and she hasn't shown what her healing skills can do in-game. Being a pop star makes it obvious that she's a Rise stand-in. Nothing in the game put me off, but nothing pushed me into making an immediate buy until I see more of the gameplay. It's going for $26 as of now, and that's a pretty attractive price. Hopefully, it's got a 20-hour campaign going for it. Alright, now we're done with Korean Persona. Let's talk about Max Payne in Texas.
Oh shit. This is bad. I tell myself it was always going to be a one-way trip. That's what love is. It's a trip between who you were and whatever the hell you become next. So let's take it from the top. Like a jazz standard. Play it in our own time. As loud as we dare.
El Paso Elsewhere is an upcoming third-person shooter by Strange Scaffold. Instead of describing the premise, I'll let the prototype tell you in his own words.
Max is Dracula, Lord of the Vampires. 15 miles from here, in a tiny motel in El Paso, Texas, she's conducting a ritual that will end the world as we know it. It's what she always wanted, even when she said she didn't. If I don't save the people she's taken or kill the things she's conjuring from the void as we speak, the world dies today. I threw away 6 months and 11 days of being sober for a chance to save the world. 98% of me is screaming in pain or exultation, glad for an excuse to fall. And the last tiny fraction, that's you. I need you to believe that I'm not going to open that trunk. That I'm going to get back into this car on the count of 3 and stop my ex before she destroys us all. I need to know that you believe, so I can too.
If you've seen my passing thoughts on Max Payne 3, I think you already know how I feel about El Paso. This game gets it. The stunted staccato dialogue of a noir protag.
The pharmaceutical cocktail I put together vibrates at the back of my skull, shifts my system into overdrive. I could take anything but a tank shot to the chest right now, but that comes with a cost. My body's going to give it out at some point, and it's going to hurt. One-way trip. I picture the pills in the bag with the pills and taking the pills in the bag with...
The self-effacing humor turned inward and not towards safe targets like rich elites or corrupt cops or Guidos. The interplay between the in-game dialogue and player actions to create the illusion of the protag reacting to real-time events.
Hey, you here against your will?
Did Mistress bring you here to shame me?
Oh, I'm very clearly in the wrong place.
Being able to store more than 2 handguns and 1 long arm at any given time. But El Paso knows where to take from Max Payne 3 when it matters. Some fights have music lyrics bleed in, much like health in the final chapters of Max Payne 3. The target reticle will flash yellow to indicate when you've injured an enemy, and red when you've scored a kill. It's nice when games do little visual cues to confirm kills like that. But where Rockstar left the surreal imagery and Remedy's Max Payne behind to pursue their Man on Fire cover, El Paso goes all in with it. This is From Dusk Till Dawn, as told by Sam Lake. Scaffold didn't just take influence from Max Payne, but from Alan Wake with a supernatural setting, and Control with its reality warping level design. The tutorial is a perfect example of how El Paso takes the Max Payne formula and distills it to its bare essentials. empty room with only the thing you need to know about in the room with you.
It's Texas. Of course they'll have guns.
You have all the same moves as Max. You can go into bullet time, you can dive, you can do a combination of the two. That's called shoot dodging. You can gulp down pills to restore your health, but it's gradual and not an immediate heal. You've got a roll that has iframes and is much easier to pull off than Max Payne's weird press jump during a strafe walk to roll maneuver that didn't really do anything. Instead of using a bat on monsters, you can insta-kill them with stakes. You can either pick up stakes in the level or break down furniture with a chance to drop stakes. Your goal in every level is to rescue civilians, reach the exit, and kill every monster in your path. The demo features 4 enemy types: shambling zombies that can close the distance surprisingly quickly, werewolves that leap at you like fiends from Quake, witches that perch on walls and drop magic bombs on you, and knights that take 1 to 3 shotgun blasts at point blank range to drop. The knights are tricky because sometimes they'll just be statues that never wake up and only serve to waste your ammo if you become too paranoid over them. What I like about the level design is that the ceiling is just gone, and all you see is this void full of shapes and imagery you probably shouldn't be exposed to. It's all that stuff Lovecraft was always afraid of, besides New Yorkers and race mixing. I'm already in love with this game, but I do have one bit of constructive criticism. The most important thing for me is the ability to remap controls to extra mouse buttons. I've already shifted roll from C to F and bullet time from V to Z. I got small baby hands, and I don't like cramping up because I stretch my fingers too far on the keyboard to hit a button I know I'll be using for most of the game. Originally, I thought the game needed an auto map because I got lost in certain parts, but after playing the demo a few times, I figured out that the point of the missing ceiling is so that you can look up to the sky and see the beacons for each civilian and objective without the need for a map. Besides that, I'm sold on El Paso. I can't wait for the full release. I'd like maybe one more build from Eternights to really see where the game is going, but it's still on my radar for later this year. Try out these demos and let me know in the comments what you think about them.
I hope you see it coming when your human Sunday decides that you've had your fill. Cause now I've got a gun and a little bit of rope, and I'm gonna show you that I'm real. I hope you see it coming when your human Sunday decides that you had your fill. Cause now I've got a gun and a little bit of rope, and I'm gonna show you that I'm real.